All right, today we're going to be checking out another one of these little mid 2000s toy lines that I personally was really into as a kid. And today we're taking a look at Fistful of Power by the company Moose. And yeah, these guys were released in 2004 by Moose, and they're a fun little collectible toy line of just little PVC figures, with different characters. They had a few different gimmicks with them, similar to like the UB Funkies thing, although obviously predating those. They had this thing where like each character had three different versions of themselves. There was a shadow version, a hyper version, and a crystal version. Unfortunately, I don't have all three of any single one of them, but you can see what I'm talking about. Here is this guy. Here's the shadow version of him, and it's basically just clear gray plastic without any paint on it, kind of like a, you know, shadow clone kind of thing. And then we had the hyper version, which is basically just the default version, just painted normally. And then we had the crystal version. So, like, here's the hyper version for him and the crystal version for him because he's, clear plastic, still has a lot of the paint apps, and they're cool. But as with a lot of these toy lines, I just generally prefer the default version, the hyper version, even though these guys are technically rarer. I just think, come on, like, he looks better, right? And yeah, they had different teams that they were associated with, basically different like regions in the fictional world that they lived in. I've got a little map here from, I just put the checklist on the one side of the map of the other side when I was a kid. We've got the land of Scar here, and we've got the different regions. Like we've got the Mullabog region, which is a swamp, and they're I think the only ones that I have like the full team of in the same like version. Like I've got the hyper versions of all three of them. We've got Stench, Wart, and Mantor here. We've got some other fun ones. You can see Stenchwort and Mantor. The Molobog region is one of the common ones, so these are all the common ones down here. And then we've got uncommon, rare, ultra rare, and then we have Czar or Xar, or however you want to pronounce it, who is like supposed to be like the main villain kind of. And he was sort of the chase figure, whereas like this was the super super ultra rare, and it was like gold, like shiny chrome gold. It might have had like gold leaf on it or something like that, but it was supposed to be a really rare figure. I unfortunately don't have that one, but still, really cool idea here. One of my other favorite regions, one of the common regions, is Sub Zero. Has basically like ice themed guys. So we've got Strog here. He was my favorite as a kid because he's just a little Yeti guy. Cool. We've got Squall, who's a little like ice ninja, and then we've got Frost, who is a little wizard, ice wizard elf kind of dude. And they're really frustrating for me just because like I don't have all three of any one of them, but I have like I'm missing like one version out of each of them. So I've got the shadow and the hyper for Frost here. I've got the hyper and the crystal for Strog, and then I've got the the shadow and the crystal for Squall here. So I'm missing the hyper with him, the shadow with him, and the crystal with him. So kind of a trifecta there. But yeah, they were a cool little team. And I'm not going to go over each of them individually, but we've got the Portal region, who's got basically little, like warriors, like Kung Fu or Samurai or Spartan. The Talk region had little robots. They're really cool. I like them. The Azure region basically had like Greek gods, and like their region was like, yeah, clearly kind of Mount Olympus, right? We had the Wastes of Maladon, who's basically like, little Egyptian themed guys, and they showed up in a desert, which makes sense. Got the Karabor or Karabor region, which is pirates, basically, for the most part. The Rex region, which is kind of like sci-fi themed guys. Mar is clearly, ocean dwelling guys, and, you can see they're underwater over here. We've got the Fires of Torbor, which is just kind of generally like fiery guy themed guys. The Black Hall region, which is kind of like medieval night dragony kind of stuff, and then the Core region, which is I guess I would say their theme is like Halloweeny kind of, because we got a spider, a snake, and a bat. cool, whatever. They did do a couple series of these guys. Unfortunately, I only have series one, but and not all of it, obviously. But then there was other things like, oh, look, we've got the Warlords down here, which came with like accessory packs, and then I think I must have gotten them on eBay or something because I don't think I had any other Fistful accessories or something. But I've got 3 of those guys, and they're super cool. I've got this guy here who is a little wizard, basically. I've got this rhino guy. He's really cool. And this little bee soldier guy. He's really cool, too. And I think that they didn't have multiple versions, but they were kind of rarer. And they came with some guys that had some variations in colors, and some of the ones that I had too. Like, you can see some of the common guys had with different color schemes. And yeah, I mean, there was aside from just like collecting them and seeing all the different teams and stuff like that, kind of like categorization play and stuff like that, there was also a game. And it's actually a pretty cool game when you like look at the rules of it. So basically they all have these different point values on the bottom of their feet. Like Strog here is a 4, and like the more common guys had the lower values, and then these guys had higher values. And then in addition to that, the shadow had lower values than hyper than what is it, crystal. So like the crystal Strog is a 5, where the hyper Strog is a 4. If that makes sense. And then the shadow one would have been a 3 probably, right? So you have all these different point values associated with them, and then basically what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to draft out a team of 15 points, basically. So we'll have like here, Strog is worth 4, Stench is worth 3, so that's 7. Got this guy here, 8. This guy, that would bring it up to 12. So we need 3 more points. All right, let's find someone 3. Then this robot guy is 3. Perfect. So that's a team of 15 right there. And then we can take 2, 4. So that makes 6. This guy is 8 because he's a crystal version and one of the rarer ones. So he's worth a lot more than a lot of them. So wait, what did I say? 6, so 14. And then we just need 1 more. Nope. 1. Okay, perfect. So then get all the rest of them out of the way. And we've got our 2 teams here. They don't have to be the same number of guys as long as they're the same points. And then you roll them against each other. Obviously, I'm just doing this with myself right now, but it would be, like one team versus another. And you can do it with any number of people. It doesn't have to be a 1v1, and then you're looking for the ones that land face up. So this team got really good. They got all 4 of them were face up with the characters face up. So then you add up the points from the ones that are face up. So this team got the full 15, and then this team only got 3 because 4 of them are face down, right? And then in addition to that, whoever has the most face up gets 2 extra points. So this team really won a lot. They got 17 points to 3, and then when you would lose one round, you're supposed to take away one of your face down ones. So like we would take away this one because he's only worth 1 point, right? And then you'd keep doing it again and again until someone was out of their little fistfuls. And anyway, I always called them fistfuls for short as a kid. It's technically Fistful of Power, singular, not fistfuls of power. So apologies if I accidentally say fistfuls of power, just because me and my friends, when we had these guys, we always just shorthand called them fistfuls. But yeah, so you'd keep doing that, and hopefully maybe the results would be different, even though they have 1 less point now, right? They've got 3 up, so probably they're still going to win. But so we've got 7 points for these guys, and then 12, 13, and then they get the extra 2 because they had more up, and then you'd have to take away another one, right? And then the farther you go into this, the more apparent is that this team is going to keep winning and winning. But if you have like more than just 2 people doing it, then there's more of a chance that you could kind of defy the odds and beat the person who's in the lead. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little idea for a game. And what I really like too is if you had any of the Warlord figures, they each have 12 on the bottom of their feet, which like you might think right off the bat is like, oh, they're worth a lot of points. That's great. But it's kind of like you're putting all your eggs in one basket because you still only get 15 points, right? So like this is a whole team 12, and 13. And it's like, okay, if you do it like that and oh, he landed on his feet. I wonder what that's worth. But and it's like, cool, 12 points. That's probably going to win, right? But if it landed the other way, you only get 3 points because you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket with this guy. And then if you lose that round and you have to remove one of your face down ones, and your 12 pointer is the only face down one, that's real rough. So I feel like strategically they probably actually wouldn't be very good to use unless you're just like willing to like flip heads or tails every time as to see whether you win. But still, they're pretty cool designs. And as it usually is with these games, like I like the game. I think it's a cool idea, but mostly I'm just into these little collectible figures. They have a lot of character, and they're kind of fun. And I like the hyper versions way more than like the shadow or crystal versions. Like the crystal versions are kind of cool, especially with some of them. Like, the crystal version of Stench is pretty cool because you're kind of like seeing the slime kind of like inside him, and he's kind of like a swamp guy, and the ball and chain is clear, but the slime on top of it is painted. So some cool effect, but ultimately, like, I mean, he still looks better, right? Like we can agree on that. But yeah, no, it's a pretty cool little toy line, and really cool little collectible figures, which I feel like Moose is generally pretty good at, just making a lot of little collectible figures, and then you kind of go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about them. They're simple guys. They've got a neat little game, and it's cool to just have a bunch of them in a little bin somewhere. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I think this is probably going to be the last of these little mid 2000s toys that I'm taking a look at for now. I'm going to go back to kind of more usual stuff, but I'll probably return to this in the future with some other toy lines in mid 2000s, maybe some 90s stuff too that I have rolling around. But yeah, without further ado, here we have Moose 2004 Fistful of Power.